Hello everyone, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Lauren and I make videos a couple of times a week about books and fandom things. But today I'm doing another author spotlight. My first one, which I will link in the description, was about Benjamin Ellery Sands, who is one of my all-time favourite authors. And if you missed that one, like I said, it will be linked in the description, but a brief overview of Author Spotlight is that it focuses on authors which I absolutely love and want to share with you. I talk a lot about books obviously on this channel, and I talk about the books, but I never really go into detail about the authors that write them, and obviously they have created these characters and these things that I love so much. So I thought that that would be a good way to talk about the authors. And today, as you can see by the title, we are going to be talking about Robin Talley. Now, Robin Talley has been one of my favourite authors for the longest time. The first book of hers that I ever read was Our Own Private Universe, and I absolutely adored it. I devoured that book in like 1 or 2 sittings. Absolutely loved it. I thought it was absolutely an amazing representation of sexuality, bisexuality, coming out, family, everything. I absolutely loved it, and it made me want to get more books of hers. So I ended up buying some on my Kindle. I've got some physical copies, some on my Kindle. I've got every book she's ever written, and I don't think that there isn't one I don't like. So Robin Talley is an American author. She writes predominantly YA books, and she has also done lots of work with non-profits focusing on educational equity, gay rights, women's rights. Her books are racially diverse. They have always LGBTQ plus characters and explore different themes of sexuality and identity, and they are absolutely incredible. There's an article that she did with The Guardian a couple of years ago, and one of the quotes that she said was, "I think it's important for fiction to show the breadth of the world we live in, positive, negative, and in between." And I love that, and I love how much she explores those things in her books and the scale of how those things are explored. I also really love it because in her book What We Left Behind, there is a genderqueer character, and she is not a genderqueer author. She does identify as queer, but she also identifies as cisgendered. So because she knows that that is not something she can relate to, she has spoken about how much research she did and how much she put into that to make sure that that representation was correct, and that she didn't put misinformation in or do anything that wasn't right and wasn't correctly representing the genderqueer community. And I really love that. I love that she put that research in, that she wanted to make sure that the story she told was accurate, and I think that that's so great. Robin Talley's books, there are 6 books. One has just come out. I've read it on my Kindle, but it is on the way in the post. I want to get all books of hers in physical copies, but I'm getting them slowly. Her first book is Lies We Told Ourselves. This book is a historical book, and it is a school in which it is the first school that is not segregated, so a school in which people of colour and white people will be attending, and it is the backlash from people that is just, it baffles me that that actually happened, that people were angry about that. It's just so wrong. And it is 2 girls that meet there and have been separated their whole lives because they've been to different schools because of the colour of their skin, and it is their journey and them meeting each other. Then we have What I Left Behind, which focuses on Tony and Gretchen, who were a couple in high school, and now Tony is off to Harvard and Gretchen is off to NYU, and they're about to do the long distance thing. Tony is genderqueer, and when Tony gets to Harvard, there is a whole group of people that talk about their sexuality and their gender identity, and Tony finds that it's very easy to fit in with them and find a place with them, whereas Gretchen is really struggling in NYU to figure out who she is outside of this relationship that she's been in her whole life, and how she exists on her own as well as in that relationship. So it's everything from there. I think this is possibly my favourite book by her, but then I have a soft spot for Our Own Private Universe because it was the first one I read. Then we have As I Descended, and As I Descended focuses on Maria and Lily, and they are the school's ultimate power couple. And they are convinced that they are going to win this prize, and there is nothing they will not do to win this prize. But then Delilah comes along, and Delilah is sort of challenging them for this prize, and it is sort of, Delilah doesn't realise how far Maria and Lily are going to go to get it. Are so dedicated to the fact that Maria is going to win this Kingsley prize that there is nothing that they won't do. Then we have Our Own Private Universe, and this focuses on Akai, who has always known that she is bisexual, but she hasn't been able to put that into practice. So she sets off to a small Mexican town, and there she meets Krista, who's a little bit older and a little bit more experienced, and it is their relationship. I really loved this book. I thought this book was, like I said, an amazing exploration, but it also went into topics like safe sex, but safe sex with two girls, which is never discussed about because, to be fair, safe sex isn't really spoken about in books in general. But it was really detailed, and it was nice to see things like that in a book because those things are normal and that's what happens in the world and they should be spoken about. So I absolutely loved this. Then we have Pulp, and this I also absolutely love. This is set in 2 different time periods. So the first bit is set in the 1950s and it focuses on Janet, and she has to keep the love between her and her best friend a secret because it is at a time where being gay is illegal. But then Janet discovers a series of books about women falling in love with other women, so she ends up reading them and sort of taking comfort in them, but it also inspires her to write. It's now 60 years later and we focus on Abby, and her senior project is 1950s lesbian pulp fiction, and she ends up finding a series of works by Marian Love and she becomes really connected to her writings, so she becomes determined to track her down. It is everything from there. I really loved this, the way it went between timelines and how the story was told. I think this book's really good. And then her most recent book is Music from Another World, and this is set in the 1970s and it is the exploration of sexuality and identity and music, and also the gay rights movement in the 1970s and everything from there, which I think is a really interesting time because obviously Stonewall happened in 1969, so it was just going into the 70s, and it's really good because the 70s was a really interesting time. It's when things sort of really started to move. I really kind of want to make a video about it, like it would be really long, but I maybe like a quick history because I'm really love the history and want to talk about it and feel like there's things that should be spoken about that people don't know about, so I might make a whole video about it, but that's not what I'm talking about right now. So I've read this on my Kindle. Love it. I just love the way she tells stories and how important the stories that she tells are, and that they are in different points of history. In those parts of history, gay people existed, genderqueer people existed, people questioning themselves have always existed, like how people were treated, and I just think it's really important, and I just absolutely adore the way that she tells stories, and I absolutely love how important the stories that she tells are, and I just love that she is so committed to telling those stories, to making sure that her characters have a voice which can actually teach people things, and you can see what people went through and how real her characters' voices are, and the research and time she puts into making sure that those characters are real, and you can feel that in every book that she writes and everything that she says, and I absolutely adore her. Even the story wise, like writing wise, they're written so fantastically, and all the characters have a really strong voice, and it's a really important voice, and I think that it is so good the way that she tells her stories, and I think that she is a very underrated author. Whenever I recommend her book, like loads of people have read her books and I get comments about her books all the time, but it's so, when I see people say I haven't heard of it, I think you should have heard of it because they're so good and they're so important, and I'm so happy that when people have said I read her book because of you and I loved it, because I just think that she is such an amazing author that tells some amazing stories. Thank you guys for watching. Like I said, if you guys are new here, then I make videos a couple of times a week about books and fandom things. So if you want to stick around and join us, then feel free to hit that subscribe button. And as usual, all my links to all my other social medias are going to be in the description down below. Please make sure you go and check out Robin Talley's books. I will link all of her links down below because they're absolutely amazing, and all the books will be in the description as well. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you're doing really well, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!